All right, good evening. This is the weather briefing the night before this cross-country flight from Oakland to Salt Lake City to Denver to Omaha to Warren County, and then Tim and Todd are going to continue on up to Buffalo at the tip of Lake Erie. But I haven't plotted that because I'm getting off here in Warren County. Um, so our plan is to leave at 15 Zulu tomorrow morning, April 2nd. And we're just going to take a real quick look at the what the models show and see what we can glean from what we might experience on this trip across the United States. And this is Pivotal Weather. They provide access to weather models. This is the GFS model. I think it's the most recent run. Yep. And this is our departure time from Oakland here. So as you can see, it's pretty boring. Not much going on, at least at that time of the morning, across the United States. We got this big high over here over southern Indiana, and we'll have a low down in Southern California. So right off the bat, we can tell, well, we're going to get a lot of very strong southerly winds through the middle of the United States, at least at the surface, because this is depicting what's going on at the surface. So we'll keep that in mind, that we want to check that out, especially because we're remembering, well, we've got to stop in Omaha, and that's kind of right in the middle of where this is. We can step through our time here, and we can advance this. So this is now 18 Zulu, 11 o'clock, and this is going to be about when we depart OGD, except we've actually changed this to BTF. So, and actually they're in Mountain Time. So this will be a little bit after we depart the Salt Lake area. This low is shifted off. We still have strong winds. We'll advance it again. So this is probably pretty close to when we'd be in Omaha. We can see that it's showing a little bit of rain popping up around the Four Corners area. Some of it might even be snow. That's a light blue. Really windy day in Mexico, but thankfully we're not going down that far. And then on to April 3rd, 0 Zulu. This is going to be 5 o'clock in California, and about the time that we're landing here in Warren County. So yeah, from the synoptic view, not a whole lot going on. So let's go ahead, and since we're going to be flying in jet, let's figure out what we might expect from the winds aloft. The two layers that we're interested about here are the 300 millibar and the 500 millibar. 300 millibar is about 30,000 feet, 500 millibar is about 18,000 feet. So we'll be right in between those two. And we actually started looking at this map about a week out to try to determine if a northerly route or a southerly route or just straight across might be better with the winds, and to try to figure out if we might shave off a stop or not. But we've determined that we don't really get enough advantage by going out of our way, so just straight across it was decided. So here when we get into the flight levels, we're only looking at like 20 knots from the west, pretty much most of the way across. Once we get over to like the eastern side of Kansas, that's going to shift. So at that point, we've got this quartering tailwind, and it starts picking up pace. So by the time we're in Ohio, we're not really going to get any benefit from being, having a tailwind. Going higher, it's kind of the same story, maybe a little bit better. Here's 35 knots across. Here's 50, 60 knots, 65 knots. Really not enough, because if we went south, then we'd have to cut up north and be even more against this flow coming down. So right here would be like an upper level low, or like where the jet stream's coming down. So not much going on there. Again, kind of boring weather across the entire United States. No precip in the ConUS for the most part for the entire day. But we can still be interested about clouds and try to see what's going on here. So again, this is when we're leaving Oakland. So at this time, we can expect pretty clear departure and clear basically all the way to Salt Lake. Maybe like a little bit of wispy clouds over here and the northern part of Nevada, but nothing that we're going to care about. It's this next leg that we actually have some interest in. So I've advanced the time, and now we're looking at what would be 11 o'clock in Oakland and noon in Salt Lake and Denver. So during this time period, we'd be making this hop. And we see, well, they expect cloud cover in the Denver area. So we can look at the sounding and kind of dig in on this. And right away, you can tell that these clouds are going to be pretty high. Up here, we've got, well, you're only going to get clouds really when these two are touching because that's when the air mass is saturated. So we're really looking at like in between, this would be 18,000 feet and this would be 30,000 feet roughly. And we're really only looking at the top bit. So we actually might be in some cloud cover there, but it's going to be cold. So I wouldn't worry too much about an icing threat with these clouds. I mean, you can see it's minus 40, where we'd have these two touching. So that's pretty dang cold. But we might be in a little bit of scrud there. And pretty quickly, these diverge as we get closer to the ground. So probably a very high ceiling, nothing to really worry about. Probably no fog or anything like that. So yeah, pretty minimal threat or really anything to think about besides maybe not being able to see the ground right here when we're in cruise. Let's see what else. I've already done all this before, and I remembered I wanted to talk about turbulence, but I do remember why. So when I saw the cloud cover there, I kind of wanted to dig in a little bit more. So I looked at the lapse rate between 700 and 500 millibars. So this is a little bit below where we'd be. As you can see, we've got pretty high lapse rates in the Colorado area. So I thought, hey, maybe we've got some turbulence that we need to be aware of here. So anyways, I kicked it over to aviationweather.gov and pulled up their, whatever this forecast is, it's like the eddy dissipation rate. And I looked for light aircraft and basically advanced it out as far as it is right now. And sure enough, it looks like we might be expecting some turbulence as we cross over the Rockies into the Denver area. So that's pretty much the only thing on that leg to be thinking about. On the next leg, let's go back to our surface sort of synoptic view here. So this is the next leg that we've got where we're going into Omaha. Again, we looked at the cloud layer and there's really nothing to speak of once we get over into eastern Kansas. But we do have those winds that we saw when we first started looking at this that we wanted to check out there. So let's go and look at the TAF, see if it goes out that far yet. So here's the TAF for Omaha, Epley Field, and we're looking at, so this is from 1600 UTC on the 2nd of April. This is as close as we're going to get. But sure enough, we've got pretty strong gusting winds from the south. Thankfully, I looked it up and they've got a north-south runway. So again, probably nothing of note there. except that we're probably going to have gusty conditions flying into Epley Field. Um, and then the rest of the way is pretty much just a boring flight. What time do we expect to get into India 68? Oh, about 7 o'clock. So I guess the only thing of note that we could look up is what um, sunset might be. So we'll go ahead and look at Middletown because I don't think they've got Lebanon and on this website. Um, and for tomorrow, um, we got sunset at 7:52. So we're going to be there as the sun starts going down. Um, yeah, and nothing of note there. Um, that's about it. We can take a look. I haven't looked at this yet on the way up to Buffalo, so I've advanced it even a little bit more here. This would be about their arrival time into Buffalo. Um, no clouds, maybe a little bit of cloud cover over eastern Ohio and western PA at about 18,000 feet, just a short layer. Um, yeah, but really a pretty simple flight for tomorrow. Not much of note. Maybe we'll do this again on a flight that I'm not a part of or a fictional flight, and we can do it on a day where there's maybe some severe weather forecasted for Middle America or something like that. So, anyways, I hope people enjoyed this and found it useful. Uh, Obviously, you don't need to do this for the most part when you're planning a flight, but since I enjoy weather, I wanted to do it, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Thanks.